My next guest says Marco Rubio won the debate clearly. Media tycoon Lord Conrad Black is with me now. So I know you are a big supporter of Rubio. You think that he won, and it sounds as if Tuesday night reinforced that in your brain.
I admire a number of the candidates. I think he won that exchange. I rather respect Senator Paul in many ways, but I think he's coming at it from the wrong angle. I go back, I'm getting so old, I go back to President Eisenhower saying the cost of victory in the Cold War is high, but the cost of defeat is everything. And you don't start by saying how much can we afford. You start by defining the national security interest, not over-defining it, not policemen of the world, but what is essential to U.S. national security. And you set aside the resources needed for that. And if there's a budgetary problem, you deal with it by entitlement reform, streamlining administration, and if need be, consumption taxes.
So, Conrad,
but you don't start with how much money have we got.
Okay. You mentioned Eisenhower, so I have to go back to what Donald Trump said. He talked about, I like Ike. Ike's a nice guy. He also deported quite a number of people in the 1950s. Some people died. I was just speaking with my colleague Lou Dobbs about that. What do you think of that kind of aggressive immigration reform?
In fairness, and Donald is a friend of mine, and I have great liking and admiration for him, but I don't think he's going to get there by suggesting that you can just evict 11 million people. Certainly the idea of not controlling your borders and sitting there like suet puddings for decades while all these people came in and everyone knew they were coming in these numbers was an outrage. But you can't now throw them all out. There is some compromise to be made here. As for President Eisenhower, yes, he did deport some people, but I think Donald kind of overplayed that. And it wasn't just I like Ike. He wasn't elected because he was a nice guy at a hamburger roast. He was a five-star general who led us to the unconditional surrender of Nazi Germany in the West. That's why he was elected.
Well, and Donald Trump was, as candidates have to be sometimes, trying to form and, let's just say, frame his discussion. But you made the point that my colleague Lou Dobbs made, which is it is unfair to let illegal immigrants stay in this country when there are plenty of people who have been lined up, as you said, for decades, having filled out their paperwork and waiting patiently. So it is obviously a hot topic.
Lou is right, yeah. Look, it's a terribly complex issue, but Lou is right. You can't punish the completely law-abiding in favor of those who just either sneak across or force their way across or are manipulated by these elements that move people around in the most appalling conditions. It's got to be cleaned up, but it's more complicated than Donald says. But I do agree. I mean, I don't have video of your show where I am, so I don't know if it was Lou who said it or not. But one of the people just a few moments ago said that that really the United States simply can't, as a great nation, continue this way, and that is certainly true.
So let me ask you this, as someone who is in charge of a large media empire, which candidate so far makes the most sense to you for the business community?
The ones who have been most, if we're just talking about from that criterion, the business community, the ones who have been most explicit and sensible on the tax side. And in there, I think there's a good competition, but I would say former Governor Bush has been good, Governor Christie has been good, Senator Rubio has been good. Donald's plan, such as it was good. He published in the Wall Street Journal, but it wasn't all that detailed, but it was good as far as it went. I think Mrs. Fiorina is making a mistake not putting forward a serious plan, though she's a very articulate person capable of discussing these things in a detailed way. But I think she should do that. But that, I think, would be from a strictly commercial standpoint what you would be most interested in.
Yep, indeed. All she has said is she wants it to be 3 pages, and I agree with you. She is extremely articulate and a good thinker. Come back soon, please. Lord Conrad Black joining me there with his thoughts.